Good afternoon, everybody. A warm welcome to all of you. Today is a special session. I think all of us in Mumbai are petrified about stepping out of the house because we never know how long it's going to take to reach anywhere and which road is blocked and, where is there complete chaos. And we've been discussing this. Alpa Sheth has been writing for us, and we thought we need to have a larger discussion. So before I introduce our guest today, may I welcome Alpa Sheth and ask her to come on to the stage, please? When we began to talk about today's session, one of the things we discussed is, do we want a large audience that has a lot of questions and a lot of anger and will tell you, look at this happening in Juhu and look at that happening in Kulaba? Or do we want a serious discussion that's aimed at finding answers? So we decided, no, we don't want the numbers. We want people who are activists, who are concerned citizens, who are knowledgeable, and who are going to contribute to some thinking on what we're going to, what the city needs. Not that anybody is necessarily going to listen to us, but I think even from our perspective, we would like to know and get an understanding from experts like Alpa. We're delighted to have Mr. Shirish Patel here. We're delighted to have the railways participating. We've been told that the BMC is also going to participate and come here. I hope they're going to join us shortly. But I think we need to start the discussion so that we remain on time. So allow me the honor of introducing Alpa Sheth. She's formidably qualified. She's the managing director of VMS Consultants Private Limited, a firm with over 50 years standing in structural engineering. She holds a postgraduate degree from the University of California, Berkeley in the US. She's also a visiting professor at IIT Madras. She has been for 3 years. She's been an advisor to the Gujarat State Disaster Management Authority for 13 years. She's the chairperson of the BIS subcommittee for drafting of Tall Buildings Code and has co-drafted the recently released Code on Concrete Tall Buildings for India. She's the co-founder and managing trustee of the Structural Engineers Forum of India, which has a lot of active members. She's also the founder trustee of the Children's Liver Foundation. This is unusual. She is the chairperson on the Academic Council of the Kamla Raheja Institute for Architecture and Environmental Studies. So with these few words, I hand it over to you, Alpa.
Thanks, Suchita, and hi, everybody. Just a minor correction. I am in no way an expert in urban infrastructure. I think I'm like all of us, a very interested and concerned citizen, and I just thought that Suchita has given us an opportunity to get together and discuss this issue. There are some things which, being a structural engineer, we are a little bit privy to some of the information, and I think that I would like to share some of that information in the hope that that will help us to come up with solutions. And I would not like to do that, but I think very likely I'm going to raise more questions than come up with solutions, but I think jointly we can try and do something. Basically, I'm going to talk about 4 or 5 different points. Let's just have cool heads, kind of prevail, and let's talk about, what are the bridge failures in India, and are we, in a situation where we have to press the panic button as we seem to be doing in the city of Mumbai. Let's also talk about the larger issue of the state of bridges in India, and also maybe talk about some other parts of the world. And then let's look at what should be the system for auditing bridges. How do you select consultants to audit the bridges, and what is the quality of reports that we should get and really what we are getting? And then, of course, as Sucheta said, let's look at what is the present state of road movement in Mumbai, and then maybe just a couple of low-hanging fruit that I think could perhaps help us to alleviate the challenges. I'm sorry. So I think what you're looking over here is, it's by no means comprehensive, but it more or less encaptures some of the bridge failures we've had in the past 20 years. And I think what is important in this is the ones which have marked as red are the bridges which have collapsed under construction. So when I've written UC, it is under construction. So I think what we need to worry about more is not only do we not know how to maintain bridges, we don't know how to design and build bridges, right? Because I think out of 16 or so, 7 of them are bridges which have collapsed and failed during construction. That's something we should be worried about. The other thing we should be worried about is that a lot of these bridges which have collapsed during construction have been designed or were being supervised by some of our star consultants. So the problem, therefore, seems to me it's about oversight. It's about having very rigorous processes. It's about having more of supervision, this is an issue that we need to look at. I'm just going to, the background is of the Vivekanand Bridge in Kolkata, which collapsed. But I'm going to draw your attention to one bridge, which is the one which collapsed on 25th May 2012. I think that possibly was not imprinted in the minds of Mumbaikars because it happened somewhere out there. The reason I'm going to point out to you is I'm also trying to bring the larger issue that today what we are seeing as panic is not, and demolition decrees being given for bridges is not really purely in the technical domain. We've been talking about socio-technical issues or techno-economic issues. What we have not been talking about is the psycho-technical issue. And I think that's something which we need to talk about. We should talk about sentiment of people because finally, these are all people with flesh and blood and fear. Okay, so the reason I'm pointing out this thing of 25th May 2012 is a bridge which was designed by IIT Roorkee. And perhaps none of you may be knowing that this bridge collapsed, and during the findings it was found that there was a design deficiency, and usually we do not expect our academic institutions to take up design of bridges. But for some strange reason, IIT had taken this up. Okay, the IIT had taken this up, and they had, this has nothing to do with gender, but there was a lady inspector or lady superintendent of police over there. She gave a warrant to IIT Roorkee. IIT Roorkee thought, we are academics, we don't need to go to court. They were pulled up and they were actually in judicial custody, not for 1 day, 2 days, but for a long period. 8 days. That can shake anybody. And that can, especially if you're an IIT professor, you are never going to expect that. The reason I'm saying this is that, again, as I'm saying, it's this psycho-technical issue, and all of this, I think, is in our minds. So when the IIT director of Roorkee, when this happened, is also one of the people who's auditing 457 bridges here, right? So, what I'm trying to say is that all of us are actually a result of the experiences we've had, and so that makes us more, inclined to work with more caution. And I think that we must accept the human factor in all of us. So let us just go to this one issue that if we are looking at bridges, let's try and understand who's in charge, who's taking ownership of all of this. We have in India about 5.9 million kilometers of road and bridge network. And if you're talking about the highways, that there are different players who actually are managing it. You have the Union Roads Ministry, which more or less kind of manages most of the national highways. Then a part of it, which they are not handling, is being handled by the NHAI. And of course, whatever highways and bridges come within the state are being handled by the state PWDs. And then some in the border states is being handled by the PRO. How much are we spending on bridge maintenance? I think that's something which we really need to look at. Between 2008 and 12, about 890 crores was allocated for maintaining 93,000 bridges, which really comes to a paltry 19,000 rupees per bridge. Yeah, so we can just kind of think what a mockery it is. In the budget of 18-19, the ministry had allocated about 3,000 crores towards the maintenance of the roads and highways. And we're talking about the national highways is about 1.15 lakh kilometers, okay? And interestingly, this was 1% less than what they had allocated the previous year. So, I'm not quite sure, what drives the decisions. But if you're looking at what percentage of the budget is allocated to maintenance, it's 4%. If you compare that to what is the allocation in the United States, that's 48%. Look, I'm comparing apples and oranges. I completely understand that because we are a developing country. There are a lot more highways which are being newly built as versus what's happening in the US. But I still think 4% to 48% is a huge number. Having said that, I think we should understand that this problem of crumbling infrastructure is not limited to India. It's in fact a larger problem in the developed countries. So I want to show you something which, we have some of the cities leading structural consultants here, and I think this is something which we need to reflect on as structural engineers, that in the United States, they have what they call an infrastructure report card, which is published by the American Society of Civil Engineers for different infrastructures. So one of the report cards, and this is a huge document, it is on bridges. And this document actually has joint ownership of the U.S. Accountability Office, U.S. Office of Transportation, and the ASCE. And what they're saying is that about 10% of their bridges also are structurally deficient. And 4 out of 10 of their bridges are over 40 years old. Okay, so that's 40% of theirs. Because I was reading somewhere in the newspaper, one of the engineers from the government, I think the municipal corporation, the bridge has outlived its life. It's already been 40 years, and so it should be demolished. I just don't understand that, there is nothing written that 40 years is the life of a bridge. By that definition, 40% of the infrastructure would need to be replaced in the US of A. And in spite of the fact that these 10% of bridges are structurally deficient, on an average, about 188 million trips across these deficient bridges are being made each day. Okay, so I think that's very important to understand that where is all of this panic in our city coming from? I mean, we are talking about one of the world's most developed countries. And the most recent estimate puts the nation's backlog of bridge rehabilitation at $123 billion. Now, what is important over here is that the report card has given a C+ for the state of bridges in the United States. But to me, what is an item of hope is that if in 2000, I'm sorry about the quality of this slide, but I just wanted to, put everything in one slide. But if you look at it, in 2007, they had 12.5% of their bridges being structurally deficient. At least they have brought it down to 9%. To me, that tells me something I should have hope for. In our country, unfortunately, this graph is not going downwards, it's going upwards. So the problem which we need to kind of tackle is, as we are building new infrastructure, at the rate at which we are building new infrastructure, possibly at a higher rate, we claim that our older infrastructure is getting decrepit and needs to be replaced, which is really what we are saying is we don't know how to maintain our infrastructure. So what really is the state of bridges in India? Okay, we have limited or poorly used maintenance budgets. We are continuously having increased traffic on these bridges, so they are stressed a little bit more than they were earlier. There's a shortage of trained bridge inspectors, and you have an extremely indifferent administration. All of this together creates a very dangerous ignorance of the state of bridges, right? So if you're going to ask me, what is the state of bridges in India? I'm going to tell you, nobody really knows, right? It's sad, but that's the reality of where we are today. Now, I'm going to come come to the next point I want to discuss about this auditing of bridges, and which is really what all of us have been talking about. You had bridges which were deemed to be safe, and then you had the FOB deck which collapsed. The FOB bridge did not collapse, the FOB deck collapsed, and suddenly bridges which were deemed safe have now been in the re-audit deemed unsafe, right? So this to me is a reflection of the lack of confidence in one's engineering skills and in one's inspection skills, right? So there was one Mr. N.K. Sinha who was the previous Director General for Roads in the ministry. And he once said in an interview that it is possible for one bridge inspector to audit a maximum of 200 meters long stretch of a bridge in a week. Okay, so I have no comment on this. I'm just kind of quoting what he has said, but I'm just kind of comparing it or contrasting it to what happened in Mumbai post July 2018, which was when in Andheri we had a partial collapse of the bridge, and at that time the railways minister said that, we are going to do a joint safety audit. The railways, the BMC and IIT Bombay are going to do it together, and we are going to do 445 ROBs, foot over bridges and everything in less than 6 months. So I'm just trying to contrast that there's somebody who is who was in the ministry saying it's 200 meters in 1 week by one team, and we have our own railways minister saying within 180 days we are going to be able to do 445 ROPs. And it's not like IIT Bombay, okay? It's one professor of IIT Bombay who's part of that team. So let's look at who are now the auditors of BMC. Is there anybody from BMC over here? Okay. Oh yeah, hi. Yes, okay. I had some discussions with on the phone with some DMCs, and I was hoping they're there because you want to quote somebody when they are there. But anyway, so this they had an exercise of empanelment for auditors for bridges in 2013, and then they repeated that exercise in 16-17. So earlier they had about 37 consultants, and now they have about 60 plus consultants. And I was just asking, okay, who are the consultants? And that DMC was scratching the head and gave me 2 or 3 names. And I said, because that person said, I don't think you know anybody else's names. I'm giving you these 3 names. So I said, but these are consultants for doing regular buildings. Oh yeah, but anybody who has a license with us can actually apply and can get empaneled with us. So this is the kind of empanelment we have presently for the auditors of bridges. Okay, and almost no empaneled consultant has any bridge experience, including the faculty member of IIT Bombay. I mean, I'm talking about design of bridges, right? So I'm hardly surprised the fact that it's off with his head kind of thing as far as bridges are concerned. So my question was, and really there were no answers given to me. I mean, my question was that do these empaneled structural engineers have any technical experience or expertise? And have they even read the bridge inspector's reference manual, which is there with the Indian Roads Congress? I mean, that is something at least you would expect. Was there a training course which was given for bridge maintenance and audit? Were they familiar with the IRC course at least on bridge maintenance? And does the BMC provide viewing platforms? Now I remember that when this FOB collapse happened at the CST, one of the things that somebody mentioned is that it's again a cover your backside kind of an exercise. But one of the things which was said is that there was no viewing platform for them to actually look at what had happened. And really, in a way, one can say that there were those precast slabs which, if they could be opened, you could look below and see what I mean, the reason I'm not getting into why this failed, but if the precast panels were available and they could have been removed, you could have seen what had happened. But no, what we did is we kind of concreted on top of that, so the joints were not accessible. So who is doing this? When was this decision taken to actually provide this flooring, and was it well thought of strategy? Were people mindful of the lack of access we would have after that for the joints of the joists with the main girders? And there are no answers to any of this. So my question is that is the work of inspecting, maintaining and repairing bridges, is it being left to unqualified local laborers and supervisors? And I think that prior to what happened over there, if people were honest, the answer would have been a yes. So really what is happening is we have our fate in the hands of very reluctant bridge audit and municipal engineers, and some of them are not used to inspecting bridges, or they have very little time. You can hardly blame them because that's the time schedule we've given them. And some of the municipal engineers, they are really not required to be looking at this. They're not legally bound to. And today you haul up a superintending engineer, you haul up a deputy municipal commissioner, and the point is, if they go to a court of law and they will say we are not subject experts, I don't see any reason why they should be held guilty, because you can't be held guilty for something which is not your area of competency, right? So even as far as keeping maintenance books, as I'm saying, there's no log of what has been done at the FOP CST, and even if there was a log, now it's all vanished, right? So even if they do have these maintenance books, as I'm saying, they possibly, it's just meaningless dummy text that is being put over there. And importantly, the senior engineers are not verifying the data. And I think that's the most important standard operating procedure that should be there, especially the government should have it. It should have SOPs, it should have an institutional memory. And I think, unfortunately, none of that is happening. So I think as of now, I at least think that we have no way of finding out about any of this, and failures are just buried in our country. So we come to this issue about, we definitely need to have a bridge database for the country. Every country has. The US has a bridge database which the consultants have, the ASCE has, and then there is an association of bridge contractors, I forget the exact name, they have their own database. So, it's very healthy that you have consultants, you have contractors, both of them are maintaining databases, and maybe they're doing it, is just because they want to know what is happening in the infrastructure. It could also be, to find out what are the new jobs, the new projects which are going to come. Whatever is the reason, I think that it's a very healthy thing that there are multiple databases which are being kept over there, so people know which bridges are a problem, which need to be prioritized, and so on. And so I think it's a no-brainer that all of us would agree that we all need to have, that even India needs to have a database which tells you where the location and of the bridge, the age of the bridge, and the condition of it. So it's not something which we are thinking of today. It was thought of way back in 1996. That's when the first exercise started, and it failed. It failed because of the main reason we have such large unemployment, and all of us who run practices know that India has a severe crunch in terms of human resources, employable human resource. So they did. So in 1996, when they decided to start a database management system for bridges, they hired somebody from the UK, O'Sullivan something, I forget the name. And they came in, the software was procured, and but what's important is that this software needs to be operated by engineers, okay? They are engineers who should be able to assess condition of bridges. They should be able to predict how the bridges would deteriorate. They should be able to plan maintenance and repairs and predict the costs necessary. And all they wanted to have is a system which can be run by computer operators. And that wasn't going to happen. So that's when the UK consultant said that bridge management software is going to be purposeless without an effective bridge management organization. So they were putting the cart before the horse. And you need to have very well-defined responsibilities and train the human resources who are not going to be transferred. That's another problem in our country. You just begin to get the skills in a government organization, and when you think you actually cracked it, you're going to be summarily transferred elsewhere. So one of the comments he made before this whole project was wound up was, he said, gravity is an unforgiving taskmaster, and unfortunately the skills of civil engineers in managing its effects are too often taken for granted. And it's very serious. We just don't, sometimes I don't think we have enough failures. So everybody thinks no matter how you abuse a building or a structure or a bridge or whatever, it's going to stand forever and ever and ever. Then we had in 2016, with great fanfare, there was a new Indian bridge management system which was initiated. And see, the thing is, I don't know whether we're all delusional or, but the claims which are made, if any common person who has no access to actually the reality would really be so super impressed with what we do. Because the claim which is being made by the ministry is that they've inventorized 172,000 bridges under the system, out of which 134 are culverts and 32 bridges, this, that, and the other. Okay. So what's the reality of this IBMS as we talk today? It was started, I think, in December 2016. So, about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. As I said, it started with great pomp and show, as always, and huge funds have been invested. Huge, mind-boggling funds. I'm not here to talk about money. It's not a prime concern. But as what's happening with the audit of the bridges in Bombay, it's been subcontracted to private consultants, and there are no standard operating procedures, no requirement for these consultants to be trained into looking at the bridges and how to kind of document and inventorize it. So one question is, what is the competency of these data collectors? So I was talking to one of the bridge consultants. He is, in fact, the president of the Indian Association of Bridge and Structural Engineers. And so I was asking him, how do you rate this? So his point was, he said, what we are getting out of it is just a 0 or 1. That is, the bridge is really bad, and it's so apparent that it's on the verge of collapse. And when something is brand new, you can say, oh, it's good. But the various shades of grey are just not being captured. So the database, but at least one thing, maybe what is there in the limited database which has been collected. These numbers of how much they claim they have done, I don't know. But the little that is available and which has been reviewed by some bridge consultants, what they said is that it is showing that 20% of the bridges are in bad state. And but the 80%, we are just not able to get any qualitative information. But the most troubling part is that this data is being collected by these private consultants. We don't know if it's a junior engineer, it's a greenhorn straight out of college who is doing it, whether it's an experienced person. It's just being collected and put up into the database. No government agency is taking ownership of it. So none of the reports are being signed by any government engineer, whether from the railways, from the National Highway Authority, from the Ministry of Roads. So what is this data really worth? We really we can't really trust this data. So, there's just no accountability. Those consultants are going to disappear, and certainly if the consultants are there, the engineer who has done it would have for sure disappeared in 3 years' time from their place. And then, the consultant is going, I know nothing about it, we just did this. So we're spending so much money in investing in very high-tech systems, but we just don't know how to run it. So I think that's really also what we are seeing over here. Now, if we come back to Mumbai, which is where we started, I think all of us have read this, and it's now official that we are the worst traffic-jammed city in the world. And as if this was not enough, and this report has been done prior to all of this stuff which we are facing, right? We've seen this. Now, I think what's important, I'm not sure if you can see this, maybe not, but I'll just read out to you what was what I liked about what Times of India had done was that they gave the bridge, but they also gave the age of the bridge. And most of the bridges, almost all the bridges, are between the age of 29 years to 45 years. There is only one bridge, the FOB at Yellowgate, which was 60 years old, and there was that one at Goregaon, which was 59 years old. But practically every other bridge we are talking about, whether it's an FOB or it's an ROB, almost all of them, there's something which is even 22 years old, they're all between 22 and 45, max 50. What does it say about us as a country? Do we deserve anything? We can't maintain anything that we make. 29 years and we can't handle it. We will build again, and this is going to happen again. So I think we need to really, and is this kind of a solution that, oh, it's bad, therefore it needs to be, it's dangerous. Why are steel bridges dangerous? How can they become dangerous? In fact, the good thing about steel is it's a material we can work with and we can retrofit it. Concrete, I agree, it's far more complex. That's something which is a totally different ball game. But so many of our bridges are steel. Dalal Bridge should have been a heritage structure. But of course, for all the heritage conservationists, nothing which is north of Worli is worth saving because there's no heritage. Bombay doesn't exist beyond Worli, beyond north of Worli, right? So Dalal Bridge, nobody even talked about it. It was a steel bridge. Why couldn't we have tried to save it? So these are questions we also need to ask. Those of us who are over here need to ask ourselves, what are we doing? Why are all of these consultants telling us that these steel bridges cannot be saved?
What's the answer? Why?
So yeah, let's think of So I think it's as I'm saying, it's the fear psychosis. When I have seen my colleague, and the person I talked to in the BMC started out, the preamble was when this happened and this particular engineer was suspended and he lost his job and he lost his pension, etc. From that time on, this is how we review things. And so this is certainly a problem that always in the mind of, and I think so let me just come to that a little bit later. So if we look at it, 1 second. So if I'm looking at it, just if we, I don't know, let me see if I can try. Yeah, so I'm just going to go through, I'm just showing you how important are these linkages. This is a north-south city, the east-west linkages are so important. You can't have somebody who is sitting in an ideal environment who can just walk, half a kilometer and go, which is a wonderful way of living, by the way. I wish I could do that, and can walk to work, should not be the one who is telling us that you can just break these and that's fine, that Bombay's life comes to a standstill. And I think that these questions need to be asked. I mean, so here I'm talking about Karnak Bandhan. Now, Baikila Bridge has not been, it's so far not going to be up for demolition, but you reduce the load that it can take. I think that's a problem. That's a problem. We need to have transparency. We need to have full reports available in the public domain. I keep being told, what stops you from just filing an RTI? The issue is that you make it so difficult for us, and there's a difference between us wanting to be activists and some of us who are part of the profession, and there is a problem to always come across as being confrontational when what we would like to do is actually work in tandem with you. So I think that, or if you're looking at what has happened to me, Dalal Road is the worst of all of it, because this is what used to be a 10, and I sit pretty close, so you can understand I'm very passionate about this problem, that what used to take just a 10-minute drive across from the east to the west now takes 1 hour 15 minutes. So it's I don't think that there has been enough of, I can go on. I'm just kind of just showing you what and how and where we are going to. And, if you just we've just mapped it, and I'm just saying, which part of the city or which Mumbaikar is not being affected by it. Then you talk about the FOBs. Okay, so you have all of these various stations where the FOBs have been demolished. So passengers there are being affected. Then entire metro line, all along the metro route, you have so many roads being closed and so many blockages. It adds to further stress, right? So I was hoping that they have a deputy municipal commissioner for disaster management, which is interesting because this morning one of the persons asked me, you said there are 6 technical DMCs. One of the DMCs asked me, who's the 6th DMC who's technical? So I said, would you consider the DMC of disaster management as technical? Oh, I forgot that post existed. So this is the reality of how the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. So my point is, before you kind of, just announce, or you have these decrees being announced that this bridge is going to be demolished, this is going to be closed, suddenly you get up next morning and you see a board there, it's closed for traffic. Saying, hello, have you done any kind of a disaster management exercise? What happens if there's a sudden earthquake? What happens if there's this huge big fire? I mean, San Francisco had a fire in 1905, which actually destroyed the whole city, right? I mean, anything can happen. What have you done to the various routes of exit? Have you even thought about it? Have you even counted what percentage of the traffic routes of Mumbai are currently blocked or they are severely impaired? Have you even counted how many people are affected by these blockages? And what is the economic loss to the city? I don't think that there is any study of this, and I think that as we have to learn as engineers, that the days when you can just purely be a technical person are long gone. You have to be looking at the techno-economic outcomes of what we are deciding, and we can't have people who are living in islands and who have no actual commitment to the city, or really who are not impacted by the decisions they make, to be making the decisions for us. I think that's something which is very important. I think to come to what we can do, okay? I mean, because it's very easy to say all the negatives. My first thing is, don't demolish bridges based on Mickey Mousey reports, because I really think these are all Mickey Mousey reports. I'm not saying that these bridges, some of them may not need to be demolished, maybe they need to be demolished. But this final, this final order of killing something should be taken with a lot of thought. There need to be multiple peer reviews, and you cannot have peer reviews by somebody who is less than the person who has originally done the report, which is what is happening today with all the audits. So I'm saying that, why don't we call, okay, maybe Mumbai doesn't have enough people, maybe don't have enough of bridge audit engineers. Maybe let's call them from other cities. Maybe there are more I know that there are a lot more bridge consultants in Delhi than there are in Mumbai. But there are a lot in Mumbai also who are very good. Maybe we need to go and talk to them and get them involved in it. And very importantly, let's create a cadre of certified bridge audit engineers. I think that's very easy. I talked to the Indian Association of Bridge and Structural Engineers. They are happy to participate. They said we can tie up with this Indian Academy of Highway Engineers and create a certificate course, so that if anybody is interested in becoming a bridge inspector, certified structural engineers, they just can't because they have a BMC license to practice as a structural engineer. That doesn't mean that they can suddenly tomorrow become a bridge audit engineer. Let's kind of get them trained into this. Let's have a certificate course. We can have a whole module. It can be done by this organization. And very importantly, we have to ensure that everybody has skin in the game. Accountability should be for everybody. It should be for all consultants, including the IITs, government engineers, certainly private engineers. As what I was saying, what is ironical is that, all those 7 failures which I listed in my second slide, ironic is that the government, that the IIT guys were the only ones who actually had to suffer. The others, for one day they'll send the junior most engineer in behind the bars, but then, everybody has connects with anybody else's aunt or dog or whatever, so they all go scot-free. But sometimes the government engineers have no place to go, and that is the reason we are seeing these kinds of responses that this bridge, because these bridges have been there for all these years. It's not that suddenly they've become unsafe. If they would have been unsafe even last year. And as I said, that even in the United States of America, you have 9.1% structurally deficient bridges. They are using them. You just want to make sure. See, the problem in the FOB at CST, the girders were great. The main girders were great. God lies in the details. The problem was the joists and the connection of the joist with the girder. That's what is given way. You block it all off. You can't see what's happening to that connect. You're not seeing that the bracket is, have given way. That's a problem. So it's a bridge engineer would understand, would have said, you can't just concrete it like this, and you don't have a means of inspection. But we don't have a system by which we are even logging all the changes we are making to the bridges. So that's a really it's very problematic. The other thing in India which we don't have, and I think some of the countries, whether it's the United Kingdom or the United States, there are structural engineers who only exclusively do forensic engineering. We don't have that. We don't have a culture of really studying failures of bridges. We have our immediate reaction is to sweep it under the carpet. And I think, Shirish Patel is over here, and he's also had experience that, frankly, even in our fraternity, and how you see it in the medical fraternity also, we always want to support our fraternity. So even if I think that there is a particular bridge which was a design failure, as a fraternity, you are supposed to support each other. And I think that, why are we doing that? Because everybody is very fearful of the consequences of the indictment and what will happen. So I think what we need to do is we must find out reasons for failures. We would not have had quite a few of the failures if we had identified the failures in the previous times. We would have kind of internalized the changes, the mistakes we had made, and we would have brought in changes in the codes. And we've not been able to do any of that. So the changes in the Indian codes are happening not because of failures in India. They are happening because of some failures we have studied through some papers we've read elsewhere in the world, which I think is, it's quite silly if you ask me. And so the way we need to look at failures is to have a very collaborative approach, and just be very neutral and look at it very academically and see why and what has failed, instead of playing hangman, which is what we do most of the time. And as I'm saying, especially municipal engineers, they do not have the skill sets for bridge audits or for most of the work that involves technical work. By the time they've been 5 years, no offense, but the amount of meetings that they have to do, there is very little time for them to actually I would say have any continuing education in technical issues. So I think they can be great administrators, but I think it's very silly to hold them responsible when there is some kind of a failure like this. Because what is happening is that they're so afraid. They are seeing some of their colleagues being suspended and so on. So they all are saying, I've got this report. It says to demolish it. I have to demolish it. This guy is an auditor who is empaneled with us, and if he says it has to be demolished, it has to be demolished. I think nobody is taking ownership of the problem. Nobody shows leadership, and they really have very little to do with the way the Mumbaikar is being harried because of the decisions that they are taking. And I think that, in conclusion, I would say that the present state of affairs in Mumbai is due to the fear psychosis which is prevalent in the system, and not because overnight our bridges have become unsafe. Thank you.
I don't think things will improve unless you change the mechanism of procurement of engineering services. The way government procures engineering services is by inviting offers and selecting the person who quotes the lowest fee. Once you do that, consultants are competing amongst themselves on how to lower their fees. They're not competing among themselves on how to deliver the best quality. They're not rewarded for better quality. They're rewarded for lower fees. And if you go that route, then first of all, your staff is underpaid. So engineering students who enter college find civil engineering is the least rewarding of all engineering professions. The organization has no time to give its employees continuing education. So the quality of the profession degrades and is going to go on degrading unless you change this fundamental system of procurement of engineering services.
I do agree with him.
We'll give you the mic because we are recording it. So can you just wait for a couple of minutes?
फंडामेंटल जो प्रॉब्लम है वो सिस्टम में ही है. She was asking what is the solution. You were suggesting that bridge expert or bridge engineers cadre create होना चाहिए. It will take a long time. In Mumbai, in last, I think a couple of days back, BMC announced that out of 36 dangerous bridges, 24 will be shut down. It is almost shut down. Today I visited the Juhutara Road bridge. Things are completely out of control. Nobody knows. They don't know when to start this repairing work. They have not announced then when it is going to be completed, when these bridges will be reopened for the use of the traffic, the people. Nothing is clear. Nobody knows anything. The CST pull that collapse. After that, the chief engineer of road department is in jail. Call for a couple of engineers, auditors. So all the auditors, when BMC approaches any auditor, कि boss please do जरा इसका audit करके दीजिए, तो सीधे लिख देता है dangerous है. अगर वो dangerous नहीं है तो भी बोला कल को गिर गया तो अपने को जाना पड़ेगा अंदर. तो ट्रांसपेरेंसी नहीं है. इनमें आपने बहुत अच्छा बताया कि एक बड़ा फियर साइकोसिस है. अजीब तरह से लोग घबराए हुए हैं, समझ में नहीं आ रहा क्या करना है. और उस डर में, उस भय में पूरा मुंबई डिस्टर्ब हो गया इस समय. कल एरली साइड में कोई लगभग 3.5-4 घंटे तक का जाम था. हजारों गाड़ियां जाम पड़ी. घाटकोपर में एवरीडे 4 आवर्स 5 आवर्स जाम चल रहा है. जूतारा रोड इज कंप्लीट. वो एजुकेशन हब है हमारा. बीएमसी वालों से मैं पूछ रहा हूं क्या करना. बोले सर हमको कुछ पता नहीं, कोई ऑल्टरनेटिव अरेंजमेंट नहीं है. Now what to do, how to go ahead, what is the solution, nobody knows it. And we want to know from you what is exact, कोई solid concrete solution क्या है, कुछ आपको बताना चाहिए.
You know, I don't think I have much of a solution.
Then what to do?
So before you answer that, one of my thoughts was that this can't go on. And I think the worry also is that they have not given contracts. They don't know when it will be complete. And the attitude is, suck it up. We're going to have the monsoons now, so it's going to get worse. I think it's going to lead to a law and order problem as well, because already you see signs of such extraordinary road rage. So I was just thinking that before you react, since we have her from the railways and we have the BMC, can we also take your views and then look at...
Good afternoon, ma'ams and sirs. First of all, let me clarify. I am Suhani Mishra, Indian Railway Traffic Service 2007 batch, and I look into operations in railways, and I have no competency to give the remarks exactly on any technicality of bridge, but I am posted here since last more than 2 years, and I have seen that Elphinstone unfortunate episode and this Andheri Bridge episode, and I have been through the Commissioner Railway Safety inquiries of both the things. So I can give you the perspective of my colleagues, civil engineers. As the sir was rightly saying, that we go with the lowest rate. even for the making of, not only about the consultants. When we're going to make a bridge or a FOB or a road over bridge, we go by the LAR, which is who is giving the lowest quote. Secondly, I have come to know by a journalist around 5-6 months ago, when she came to my office asking for the age of the bridges and the FOBs. Some of them have been made in the Britishers' time, and Britishers have a beautiful system. She only told me, but I couldn't able to find the thing in West End. She found it in Central Railway, that still the bridge organization in UK writes to the people, the railway people in India, about the health and the date and the technicalities and the structural and all these things, note and a reminder kind of a thing about the bridge. The sense of ownership is something which we really have to learn from them. They have made it, they have built it, and they have left our country long back, but still they have some sense of connect with that. And right now, just Sanjay sir, as he was saying, right now it's a sense of panic. Instead of owing, if my child is not working well, instead of owing it and improving it, we are trying to just say that, abandon it. They are not my child anymore. But the plight of my colleagues are, actually they are overburdened. There are a lot of things. They have to do the track maintenance. They have to do the infrastructural building, the toilet building, and the platform beautification, and the FOB and ROB. And we have 2 bridge engineers in Western Railway Bombay Division. We have a bridge unit in Churchgate headquarters where Chief Bridge Engineer sits. But as someone was rightly, I think ma'am was pointing out, the quality of training, once we get inducted, we are so overburdened with the work that hardly anyone get any kind of a technical training, because the structure of bridges are changing each and every year. Whatever we have read in our colleges and what practically we are looking into might be 2 different things. And the competency of different kind of structures, one person having the competency of looking into all the bridges. Secondly, we have a periodic for inspectors in civil engineering department. We have a periodicity of examining a bridge. I exactly don't know, it might be once in a month or something of a particular bridge. But once, what is the competency when you look at it, कि हाँ वो पेंट ठीक, यहाँ से पेंट निकल गया है या something, और आपको सरिया नहीं दिख रहा है, वो सरिया तो अंदर है. And the climate of our country, of our city is like that, कि वो अंदर से rot हो रहा है या क्या हो रहा है. Earlier I was posted at Ratlam. There is a very high altitude. We have a section, Ghat section kind of a thing there between Godhra to Ratlam, and a bridge has collapsed suddenly at night. And fortunately there was no train, and everything stands still for more than 48 hours. Then specialists come. I don't know from which place they have come, and just like a stethoscope, we have some instruments. They have some instruments. If a train is running through a bridge, they can come to know the heartbeat. Their heartbeat, and from that they can derive the amount of wear and tear or what is the condition of the bridge. And when our minister, respected minister, was there, we were also discussing. Right now we don't have any kind of a system for railway FOB. I'm not talking about the road bridge, that how much amount of load. There should be a mechanism that if 100 people are at FOB, we were discussing this at the time of Elphinstone, and FOB is not able to bear, or there might be a stampede-like situation. So after, if it should not permit 101st people to enter on the very first time. This is not something, the load bearing, and the ma'am was saying, just like she was saying for the road bridges, ki, for the safety side we have stopped the heavy load vehicles. But what is the degree of variance between stopping all the vehicles and just giving the pedestrian allow a few, and that the case of Andheri, we all know how many additional cables and additional loads and the paver blocks were there. So there is not a common agency, at least for Mumbai and Delhi, big cities, there should be a common agency who has nothing to do with, they should not be like कि ये रेलवे का काम है और ये BMC का काम है और ये grey area है, and we need something common in it. Thank you.
We have a couple of colleagues from the BMC. Anyone would like to react to this? Are you from the BMC? X. Okay.
Hello, I'm Civic Handegar, ex-executive engineer bridges. Almost 18 years I worked in bridge department. So almost all bridges I have covered in Mumbai. And what I feel, somebody has to be behind engineer. That is most lacking thing in BMC. At present, there are hardly, according to my knowledge, it's 48 engineers looking after the whatever problems are there. So somebody has to be behind our engineers. That is a big issue at present, and nobody is going to take, that responsibility. I was there. I was fortunate to have that faith from higher authorities. At present, higher authorities, they don't have faith in our engineers. Actually, we have very good, technical support also. In-house, we can do that. It's not that we can't do, but there is no faith. That is what my observation is there.
Anyone has any thoughts on what is the solution rather than leave it as it is? So you'll introduce yourself.
My name is Alok Banerjee. I started out as a structural engineer, but I spent most of my time in construction management, including few years with Mr. Shirish Patel. Now, I feel that careful visual inspection is the strongest thing that is required for inspection of bridges. Bridges are designed based on VDU, that is vehicle damage, VDF, vehicle damage factor. So you don't need to go beyond careful visual inspection in most cases. Are we saying that our people who are qualified engineers, they are not capable of just the careful visual inspection of bridges? It's unbelievable.
So it seems to me as though there has been inspection and some IIT professors have said that it is damaged and shut them down, right? So is there anything that one can do to retrieve the situation? Because I think we are really headed for a panic. I don't know how we are going to face the monsoon, and we cannot have so many bridges closed. And there is, today, every day in the papers, there is a scare scenario. Another bridge closed, traffic jams. Nobody is talking about, do they need to be closed? Can we sort of fortify them? Can we at least ride out the monsoon till you sort of contract and decide on a plan for rebuilding them? You think any solutions are possible at all?
I'll just go back first to some of these questions and then maybe we should do it. So one is, Shirish Bhai, as far as this situation of auditors is concerned, the problem, or whatever, whether you call it a problem or not, that this time they don't have L1 for the auditors. They have a fixed fee. So they have a fixed fee for audit, and then they have the 67, and then they just send a mail to everybody, and whoever is interested does it. So that is the process they are following for the audits of all the bridges, which BMC is doing. So right now, that is. But the problem, I think, what you said is right, that see, India is a developing country. There is so much work happening that, some of the consultants who are, let us say, more experienced or whatever, I don't want to use some other judgmental words, but they are so busy that maybe they don't really want to get into the discussions with municipal engineers and the deputy municipal commissioners, all of that. There are lots of
egos involved. So they just kind of feel, let's just do the work which we are doing. So the question there is, I think that there needs to be a change of the way we look at it. I think we, a lot more structural engineers need to kind of lean in and say, this is something which I need to do as my contribution to the city in which I'm living. And I think we need to take a more activist role. We need to go to them, which is again a change of culture for them. But I think it's a wake-up time, and a lot of engineers need to get together. And I would certainly say that this is something which needs to be looked at even at a pan-India. I don't think just there are enough of consultants even in the rest of the country who would be happy to help, because it is, if they realize what is the crisis situation we are having. The second problem which I feel, and I agree with Sanjay ji, is that there is a leadership crisis. There is a serious leadership crisis. It is something where I would expect the chief minister to lean in, but at the very least I would expect the municipal commissioner to be leaning in. Is it that they do not use the roads of Mumbai? Are they not aware of what is going on? Should they not be actually pressing the buttons? And they should have, the first thing I would have said is, Sena heads prevailing, they would call Shirish Bhai and say, please come in and tell us what is a roadmap we need to have. And Shirish Bhai in turn would call a few others and say, okay, let's just catch the bull by the horn. I'm just seeing a complete absence of leadership. I mean, okay, I'll give you, it's a personal example. I wrote a letter to the municipal commissioner, who is now the chief secretary. To his credit, he read my letter and immediately gave a call to my office. I was traveling, but he said, please ask her to come on so and so day. When I came back that morning, he had again called to say, is she going to come? I went and met him, and he said, tell me how we can work together. I was very encouraged by the whole attitude. And I said, look, this is, again, it's not about, working as a private consultant, doing some more projects. I said, I'm more concerned as a citizen, and I'd like to help the city as more in the role of an activist, or of somebody, but not as a private consultant looking at a commercial project. So he said, that's fine, let's find a way, so on. And he told his executive engineer, Bridges, to get in touch with me. That gentleman calls me up. So I said, okay, you tell me, tomorrow you want to meet me, day after. He says, yeah, I'll come over to your office. And that's more than 10 or 12 days ago. So nobody is ready to take ownership of the problems. There is just complete absence of leadership, and nobody wants to have skin in the game. After what has happened after the FOB, everybody is not with me. So this is a very serious problem, and I definitely think that given what it is, I think we as structural engineers, but now to answer this question about can we not see it? The problem is not in what we can see. The problem always lies in what we can't see. And you need to be trained to know what you can't see. And that is where I don't think we should dumb down training. I think we definitely, I'm not saying it's going to be a 1 month long training, but you definitely need to have a 1 week long training. You need to have a historical kind of a lesson, a 3-hour lesson of all the different kinds of failures. You need to look through at least 100 kinds of failures across the, it's something like being a doctor. How do you get diagnostic skills? You get diagnostic skills only by looking at more and more and more and more patients. So you need to look at different kinds of failures. It's not visually you're going to say, oh, this is where, it's right there. No. The fact is nobody even realized that we are not able to see the connection of the joists with the main girders. I mean, what was the reason for them to dismantle those two main girders? As I wrote in your piece also that, these are like bumbling policemen who actually got rid of the evidence of what had happened. They immediately just dismantled it. Are they crazy? I mean, I'm just kind of saying that there is nobody even to advise them on what needs to be done. So this is a very sad state of the BMC, of even the bureaucrats, the technocrats, and we've had our present chief secretary is also an engineer. I think, I don't know, but our present municipal commissioner in fact has a lot of experience in handling disasters. He actually was a collector when the Latur earthquake happened. So I think that we need to kind of chalk them into action.
So, Shirish Bhai, can I invite you onto the stage, because you have so much of experience and the Kemps Corner flyover has not been affected. I think we all have so much to learn from you, because it's a cop-out. May I please?
Can I say some couple of things?
Yeah, I'm coming to you. Because lack of leadership and we keep quiet in a democratic society, not the answer, right? Kim first and then you.
One point is, I think, what so you mentioned about Aviation from Mumbai Vikas Samiti, also with Moneylife Foundation on consumer issues. One of the points which Suchan Madam mentioned about whether need of demolishing so many bridges in one shot. Now we are talking about 19,000 dilapidated buildings in Mumbai for last 20 years. Okay, but out of that, today at least, maybe we repaired or reconstructed about 3,000, 4,000. About 15,000 buildings are still there. For last 20 years, maybe few of them fall, okay, every monsoon. But we are living with so many buildings for so many years together. So it is not that all these bridges, which suddenly they may find that they are dilapidated, will fall in this monsoon. So it's just not possible. So there you have to keep this in mind. When you are living with so many buildings in Mumbai, how can that? Why are you not applying the same logic here? Okay. So what? Take the risk, yeah. No, I know, but here you have taken the risk. So why are you not taking it? Yeah. I'm just saying that. Why? I'm just applying the logic. So what I'm saying is, that there has to be possibly a peer review. Maybe 2 or 3 more agencies to really look into detail, categorize them as A, B, C, whatever it is, or maybe A plus A, whatever it is, and really find out which are the ones which really need demolition immediate, which can maybe repaired, maybe some repairs can be done by which you can live through this monsoon. Some repairs which can be done, which can live for maybe 2 years. So you have the breathing time. That sort of a plan may be necessary to make for this, So to avoid this sudden panic which can happen in these 4 months. Okay, that. Then there are 2 issues which are governance issues really. One of the issue is, which we have been saying, Mumbai First also has been saying, that we don't have a single point governance for Mumbai. And one of the points which has been between Railways and BMC. Now about this bridge also, the CST bridge, immediately afterward there was a blame game, saying that who is it, me or you. Okay, I think this is what we should avoid. What is needed today is an ownership, saying that, immediate action. So instead of that, we started a blame game. Then somebody said, no, because the platform number 18 and all that were built, that's why the traffic increased. Some such silly reasons were given. This was too much for a common citizen to swallow, this. So I think this is what we need, this. And there is one point which is there, which our BMC people will know. There is supposed to be a Apex committee, Roads Apex Committee, Inter-Utility Coordination Committee, which has supposed to be there by this, which was functioning, for last so many years. In 2012, that committee was suddenly stopped by BMC. Now this is where all the utilities are called together. There is a bi-monthly meeting. And whatever work is supposed to be done for roads or bridges is supposed to be discussed there. And that is supposed to coordinate among all the utilities. Now here, number of reasons have been given, that additional cables have been put, okay, then additional paver blocks have been put, number of asphalt coatings have been put. Now all these things would not have happened if that committee was meeting and solving this problem. So a question needs to be asked to the municipal commissioner, saying that why this meeting was stopped. Who took this decision of stopping this meeting of coordination, which is really necessary for Mumbai at this moment. So this is one of them.
So two important questions. Shirish Bhai, can I ask you to react to them? I think the question he asked about, in fact, both of you, this one more peer review, and can't we at least buy time and open some of them? Is there...
I doubt that all these bridges are so dangerous that they have to be demolished. I think you'll agree with that?
Absolutely.
And the government and the BMC are both relying entirely on IIT reports, which, as I understand it from Alpa, are prepared by one professor. It's not the institution that is giving the report. There's no peer review within the institution. It's a single person. And you're depending on a person who actually has no design experience, who probably has certainly has no maintenance experience. You're taking that as the basis for a major decision to demolish a bridge? I find that unbelievable. And I think if you really ask for a serious peer review by a group of 2 or 3 independent consultants, pay them reasonably well so that they're comfortable and can do the job thoroughly, that's important. Don't go by the lowest fee. I think, there's a basic misunderstanding between contracting and design and consultancy. A contractor has a clearly specified set of things to do. The drawings are clear, and the quantities are known. He quotes a price, and the person who quotes the lowest price gets the job. That's fair enough because the object is defined, and you can get somebody who does a good job at the lowest price. A profession is different, and design belongs to that profession. And I think a very simple cure to make government understand that professional services are different from contracting services is to say that all members of the Indian Audit and Account Service hereafter will have their medical expenses reimbursed only if they go to the lowest price doctor. That will solve the problem.
No, I think I agree with Shirish Bhai that possibly a peer review is required, and as they do have peer reviews, but as I'm saying, the peer reviewer is even less qualified than the original auditor who was given the report. So the peer review is not worth the paper it is written on. So again, it's about leadership. It is about whoever in the municipal corporation picking up the phone, calling a meeting of 6 or 7, and a lot of the senior consultants actually will do it for the city. It's fine, they need to be paid for whatever, but it's not going to be the fees which is going to drive them for now, given that what is the panic situation in the city. But do that at least. I think the problem today is that the municipal corporation cannot even differentiate between cheese and chalk. They are incapable or not competent to even evaluate the quality of reports and advice they are getting. And I think that we have reached really the bottom. It's another of where we can possibly get. And I think that requires reflection on part of everybody, including us. Maybe we also should take some responsibility for what it is, because we've also been continuously, willfully ignoring them, so to say, because of the way the systems work.
As a private consultant.
What can we do as private consultants?
He says we are also.
I did write to them. I said I'm available for whatever, and that's why I said let's do it through the Academy of Indian Academy of Engineers or whatever, which is non-political, which is not commercial, and which also has the heft of the government behind. I tried, but I'm just saying that the system is overwhelming. I'm interested, whatever.
Okay, Sudhir Badami, I'm not getting up. There are 2 points I wanted to bring forth. One of them, Alpa already mentioned it, but only in passing, is the disaster management in the city. On what basis did the government, municipal corporation, decide to start so many fronts on the metro line? They have done that They are not analyzed anything. All that they do, I think, is wait for the monsoon. They measure the millimeters of rain and where are the flood points. I think they are not gone beyond that. We need people who can imagine problems before they occur. So we need to have a change in that leadership itself. I remember 2006-07 when I was member of the committee for potholes. My friend here was colleague with me. We roamed around all over Mumbai and found problems, but we found that suddenly the person in charge turned out to be only a person growing up in administration and not knowledgeable about technical matters. I don't know about the fire auditing and firefighting capabilities, but I think that also is under review right now, if I remember correctly. Coming to another aspect of panic situation, we mentioned Delisle Road Bridge. That one-man report said that it's so bad it can collapse any time. When that was this thing, how many people on the bridge will fall down and get killed? Vis-a-vis, how many people would get killed when there's a train going every minute on those tracks, and actually speaking peak hour there are 2 trains going up and down. So anyone, did they do any analysis? If it was that dangerous, I would have said 2 days you have a mega block, remove the bridge completely. It was that bad. So you need to look into all these aspects very seriously, and I think citizens can't be sleeping there. They had to be participant in all these things, and I think we have to demand for this. I hope this is a political issue, which I think every politician must look at it very pragmatically, not politically.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think Sanjay Bhai will say that we have to stand with him and support him. Only then he can take the leadership.
I am MD Khattar. I used to work for the railways for a long time, and that's where I had some exposure to the bridges. Now, there were not that there were no failures in the railway bridges, but one thing which we found when we went into the details of the collapse, all the 3 elements, that is the design, the execution and the maintenance, came into the picture. It's a combination of all these 3, and which determines whether the structure will fail or will not fail. Now, of course, here just now we are only talking about the design, but I think when we go into details, we must also look into that, because execution has also been very bad. And in fact, as you would know, there are more failures during execution than after service. The other thing I just wanted to mention is that there is an institute in the railways which is exclusively for bridges. It is stationed in Pune, and it has been in existence for many years, because I left the railways about 30 years ago and it was there at the time. So that is another area where they have been teaching about the bridges only exclusively. Earlier it used to be with the permanent way, but it was bifurcated many years ago, and there is a system of teaching what to do in a bridge, which also consists of maintenance. See, the maintenance of bridges in the railways, of course, let me tell you, when bridges, and I have been, as I said, in the railways for a long time, foot-over bridges were not really being counted as a bridge. Let me be very frank in this. But all other bridges...
The FOBs are not bridges.
No, they're not bridges. But I'm saying the importance is not being given. And now it requires to be given. Yeah, whereas, we had categorized the bridges into important bridges, the major bridges and the minor bridges. And they were all, there used to be books on which we are supposed to write, and it is right from the inspector. The inspector will write, then the assistant engineer will write, and I used to be the divisional engineer for many years. So I also used to write what is to be done in that. And it also will also say what observations were made in the last year, whether they have been complied with. In addition to that, there used to be, and I think it is still there, annual inspection by the general manager, where we used to go in particular sections, get down at the bridges and things like that and see. You were talking also about the steel bridges, and railway has got a large number of bridges which are steel. So there, all this check for one of the things which is required, and maybe now it's required for the new bridges, they are all riveted bridges. And there we have to check whether the rivet is loose or not, and replace it. And later on, even at that time, I used to see there were some bridges which are made with early steel, which is they were prone to fracture very quickly. And for those also precautions, it was all written down there in this thing. What I'm trying to say, there need to be a system. And of course, this panic, what you are saying, it happens always. In railways also, there used to be a lot of accidents, but every accident is inquired and then they are gone, some by independent authorities, some by the railway people itself, and studies made as to what type of failures have occurred. And that's when I said the failures will occur for more than one reason, not one. One doesn't really happen to create a situation, then the bridge or a structure will collapse. So what is required is to have this design. Also, you said that he said why we are giving to the lowest, but you said they are fixed price. That is the same thing as fixing a lowest price, So it doesn't really improve and doesn't give an impression to me that we are doing something better. It is the same. So you cannot just do that. And as is being done for even the World Bank tenders, you must have different marks for different things. Technical qualification and the financial gives is the weightage given is much less than what you give. So there is need for the panic when we are talking because so many bridges they are saying are not fit to carry the traffic that they are supposed to carry. This, I think, is only a question of creating a panic purposely or whatever, I don't know. And this may be the reason, as you said, that because some people have been taken up, and including the auditors, and they feel that, let's say everything is fake. This cannot happen, and categorization, now everybody's talking, let me give you a little bit of example that what we did in the railways, when it was decided to increase the axle load, we were supposed to all go through into the bridges to see a various type of bridges, whether they are fit to carry, and the bridge is the main thing. The track really not much is required to be done, but bridges need to be there before we can certify that either the speed can be increased or the axle load can be increased. And there each bridge was really categorized. And some of the bridges I still remember used to write on bridge under observation, because some were not really fit there in the margin. And there those were being inspected at a very great frequency to be able to see that nothing goes on. And in maintenance is also a big thing. And I don't think we have an organization anywhere, whether it is even the railways doesn't really have an organization to do the maintenance. It used to have, but now it has fizzled out for a long time now. You see, the maintenance is really very, very important. And a lot of things happen when you're doing maintenance. Now you're talking about the bridge, the concrete structure and all that. Yes, I dealt with some arch structure, the arch bridges and all that. And it becomes hollow. There's the leaching and everything is coming out. And I still remember how we used to test it and grout the cement mortar into that to be able to see that it gains strength. And then we were, of course, observing the depression and all those things. All these things were there. Even testing of bridges. I don't think there is a system of testing of bridges. We used to do also on the testing of the bridges. And let me tell you, when the concrete bridges came, there is ours, the precast concrete, there was a problem.
Hold it closer.
The precast bridges, when they came, there was a big problem because always railways were used to steel bridges, and this was a new thing. And it took quite some time, and I know for many, many years, speed restrictions were put in some of the railways because they were not very sure whether it can really carry that thing. So what I see is there is a need. Bridge is a very, very, looks a very nice structure, and of course it is very well designed compared to even bridges, buildings, I must say, the input that it goes into this. But it requires a lot of nursing during construction also, and then maintenance. Thank you.
Excellent, which means that there is a system which the railways use, but the BMC...
Now the books are still there. You see, what has happened is...
So the lack of leadership that you talk about...
It's not that the system has been abandoned. The system still remains. And I told you, I used to take home a lot of those books home to be able to sit down after my observation, the thing as to what is the real thing wrong. Or read the observation of my junior officers as to what they have said. And many times they'll say, I must come and visit and see it and put my observation. The system is not very difficult to put the system.
I'm afraid that kind of system does not exist in the municipal corporation.
No.
Sir, but why cannot you introduce? The point is very simple. So when we are talking,
So the system.
Sir, just give you the mic.
Sir, just give you the mic. Just wait for a second.
Just take one from the checklist saying that I am in this and it looks okay.
Also,
In various places. You see, the system also has checklists. So if I am a supervisor and I am lazy, I don't have character, I just tick mark that yes, found okay. Where in real practice it may not be okay. So the system without soul doesn't work.
But that's not the complete system. There has to be somebody supervising you who checks part of your work from time to time. And if he finds that what you have entered is incorrect, he pulls you up. He doesn't take what you have written as gospel. He verifies some fraction of it. There has to be a complete system which includes that kind of verification and double checking.
But in various places we lack that complete system.
Well, I think we lack a kind of responsiveness in the bureaucracy, and in my view, that has arisen because the bureaucrats, the engineers in the corporation, have been working with incompetent consultants. People in government learn from their consultants, engineers in particular. If they employ good consultants, on each project they will learn something new, and they themselves will become experienced enough to handle new projects better. But I find there's no responsiveness now in the bureaucracy. For example, the Kemp's Corner flyover is now 54 years old. And for the last 3 or 4 years, we have been telling the municipal corporation that we notice signs of corrosion in certain places. Please take a look at it. Please have it thoroughly inspected. The joints, the expansion joints with steel plates over them, if you notice, have bumps in them. The one on the northwest corner near India House is very smooth. And if it's properly set up, all joints should be the same. But in 1 or 2 places, we know that the steel below has corroded. It needs to be replaced. We are not able to persuade them to take action. We're writing letters constantly to them. It's, just because we designed the bridge, we are doing this. We're not paid for it. That's all right. I don't care. But they are not responsive enough, even when it's pointed out to them that this needs to be done. So why is this happening? Why are engineers in service in the BMC so unresponsive to, engineering problems?
Why only engineers? The whole BMC system, they are completely responsible. They don't care about the problem. Right? The closure upon these bridges.
Yeah.
Before that, before closing all the bridges or the traffic movement, BMC could have issued an advertisement in the various newspapers. But these are the bridges, we are going to shut it down, and these are the alternative arrangements, alternative roads. So please, dear Mumbaikars, use this kind of road, because these bridges are not very, they can't carry so much traffic. Yeah. Or you can say that heavy traffic, heavy vehicles are not allowed on this particular routes. The lower vehicles can go, the scooters and the four-wheelers can go. This kind of accountability or sensitivity towards the problem of Mumbaikars, they don't carry, they don't have. That is why they have just given up everything. कि आपको जैसे जीना हो जियो साहब, हम कुछ नहीं ना देने. All of a sudden जैसे कोई पुराना राजा होता था कि आइए आज ब्रिज नहीं चले, आज से ब्रिज बंद, आज से रोड बंद. Before that you have to tell people कि ये प्रॉब्लम, कुछ लेना देना ही नहीं है. हाईलाइट था CST का जो ब्रिज जो आप बता रही हैं अभी, वो जो ब्रिज गिरा मुझे अभी भी याद है. शुरू के 2.5 घंटे तक तो BMC कहती रही कि रेलवे का है. शुरू के 2.5 घंटे तक, 3 घंटे तक बोला गया कि नो, दिस ब्रिज, दिस FOB doesn't belong to BMC, we have not done anything, it's railways. बाद में जो रेलवे स्टेटमेंट नो, we have not done anything. So a common governing body is required for Mumbai, for not only for infrastructure, for everything. एक ऐसा सिस्टम बनाना पड़ेगा कि एक कोई कॉमन बॉडी हो, कोई एक कॉमन अथॉरिटी हो जो रोड से लेके ब्रिज और एवरीथिंग, पूरा ट्रैफिक मैनेजमेंट, एवरीथिंग शुड बी कंट्रोल बाय दैट अथॉरिटी। वो नहीं है। आधा काम बीएमसी, आधा रेलवे, आधा एमएमआरडी का एक अपना रोल चल रहा है। अभी नया मेट्रो आ गया है, पीछे हमारे मेट्रो से परेशान लोग बैठे हुए हैं। नितिन भाई बैठे, नितिन भाई हो ना, पूरे मुंबई में मेट्रो के नाम पे डिगिंग कर दी गई। वो आपको पूरा मेट्रो पे डिटेल देंगे। मेट्रो का काम अभी 20% भी नहीं, नॉट ए सिंगल मेट्रो वर्क इज कंप्लीटेड more than 20%. Still our honorable chief minister is saying that within 8 months metro 2, 3 these will be launched, started. बोला ना अभी नितिन भाई, पहले उन्होंने कहा 2017 में, by 2017 first metro, this metro will be commissioned. फिर बोला 2019 में कमीशन हो जाएगा। अभी बोला 8 महीने में 2 मेट्रो शुरू हो रहा है। इनने मुझे रिपोर्ट दी एक दिन कि 20% भी काम पूरा नहीं हुआ। कहां से शुरू होगा सर? नो मेट्रो यार्ड, नो मेट्रो स्टेशन। तो सब ऐसी एवरीबॉडी, आपने कहा लीडरशिप क्राइसिस, टॉप टू बॉटम नोबडी इज बॉदर्ड। किसी को चिंता ही नहीं है, बस बोलते जाओ। मेट्रो से तो पूरा मुंबई, हम स्पेशली हम सबर्बन लोग परेशान हैं।
नहीं, it's not exactly diverting. The issue has to be looked into completely. You see, metro, everywhere they started off, to best of my understanding, they don't have the finance for it. Because finance has to be coming from Government of Maharashtra and financial institutions. Government of India is not guaranteeing it. They are done only for Metro Line 3. They are giving the optimistic date of 2022 because 2019 elections had not yet taken place. Now that has happened, the reality of finance will come into the picture, and we can expect, that's my estimate, 2030. Till that time, we'll suffer.
Just one point to add to what Shirish Bhai said. I think it is what has happened in BMC, what you said is true. The in-house expertise has gone down quite a lot. Yeah. We have the fortune of working with some of the old BMC engineers who are part of our organization. We know the technical knowledge, that this one, whatever is there, which is not there today. Today the dependence, as Shirish Bhai said, is based on incompetent consultants. That has increased, and I think that needs to be cut down. Okay, and same thing is with MMRDA also. MMRDA depends too much on outside consultants. The in-house competency needs to be there, and maybe for specialized knowledge, you can take the outside consultants, but you must have in-house.
But it's a crisis situation now, right? I would request anybody who has anything to say now to talk about what do we do? I mean, we've all discussed the problem. Are we just going to keep quiet, or do we have solutions? Can we talk about that?
Ensure that nobody will be arrested.
Yes, that's what I was also saying. Let's not play hangman. And the other thing, maybe I'll just see, one thing maybe what we can do as an outcome of this is that maybe we should go and meet the municipal commissioner and just talk to him and tell him that we are concerned citizens, and this is affecting all of Mumbai, and we definitely do not repose the confidence in your reports, your audits, as you seem to be reposing. We would like it to be reviewed by more competent consultants. I think that can be a starting point, And
also you can demand that the audit report should be made public. What is that audit report?
The IIT audit report. I have sent an RTI request for the IIT report, but who knows whether I'll get it. Government has become very skillful in avoiding responses to RTI reports.
What bridges audit report? Exactly whatever report it is.
Just like we do citizens audit in certain things like public distribution system and panchayati raj system, if a body of citizen which would be a flexible body, and how the citizens and how what would be the competence that can be decided by the senior people here, can be affiliated or it can be acknowledged by the government, railway and BMC and VMC and everyone, and one of the representative should always be available in any this kind of meetings, so that this opaqueness which is causing, they might be doing everything 100% right, but the thing is they have not disclosed it publicly, so there is a question mark. So that representative of any of the citizens can be present in all the meetings mandatorily, and because if a bridge is really not working properly, and if we really have to close it, we have to take people in confidence, and that a citizen, an active citizen can do. If we just like Sanjay sir was saying, we say कि आज से ये बंद है, instead of that, if we have active participation of the local people, for that government might not be competent enough कि वो हर व्यक्ति से जाके बात करे, but there can be an active group for bridges of the civil society of Mumbai.
My name is Anil Galgali. जैसा कि कुर्ला में जब एक FOV बंद हुआ तो हमने पूछा कि ऑडिट रिपोर्ट तो बताइए, तो आज तक ऑडिट रिपोर्ट उनको प्राप्त नहीं हुई है. जैसा मैडम कहती है कि रेलवे डिपार्टमेंट में 2 इश्यूज़ है. रेलवे का कमिश्नर ऑफ रेलवे सेफ्टी से इश्यूज चलते हैं, और जो MMRD और BMC का रेलवे का इशू चलता है. तो हमने जब RTI से पूछा कि हमें जो भी आपने ऑडिट रिपोर्ट की है उसकी कॉपी दीजिए, तो हमें रिप्लाई दिया कि 280 रेलवे के और FOV सेंट्रल रेलवे में है, उसकी एक भी जो रिपोर्ट उनके पास आई नहीं है. तो आपने किस बुनियाद पर ये ब्रिजेस को गिराए हैं या उसकी मरम्मत कर रहे हैं? मुझे तो लगता है कि जैसे 15 साल पहले मुंबई में जो पेवर ब्लॉक का एक नेक्सस शुरू हुआ था कि हर जगह पेवर ब्लॉक लगाना है, वैसे ही ब्रिजेस गिराने का भी एक नेक्सस शुरू हुआ है कि कोई भी ब्रिज को खतरा बता दो और उसको गिरा दो. कॉन्ट्रैक्टर ऑफिसर एक नेक्सस बन चुका है जो बड़े पैमाने पर पिछले 2 से 3 महीने में सिर्फ ब्रिज को ही गिराने का, ब्रिज को ही रोकने का काम कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि इनके पास एक भी IIT मुंबई एक ही एजेंसी है. क्या पूरे देश में सिर्फ IIT मुंबई सर्टिफाइड करेगी कि ये ब्रिज खतरे में, ये ब्रिज खतरे में नहीं है? उनके पास दूसरी कोई एजेंसीज नहीं है क्या? चाहे रेलवे हो, चाहे MMRD हो, चाहे महानगर पालिका हो, सभी लोग जाके पवई में IIT मुंबई पर ही डिपेंड रहते हैं. तो कहीं ना कहीं तो इसकी भी जांच होनी चाहिए, और अलग अलग एजेंसीज, अलग अलग जो इस क्षेत्र में काम कर रहे हैं, उनका भी एक आइडियाज, उनकी व्यूज़ रहनी चाहिए. जैसे मैडम ने बताया, हमने रेलवे मंत्री को 2 पत्र लिखे, इस ऑडिट रिपोर्ट को ऑनलाइन कीजिए, जिस भी ब्रिज की ऑडिट रिपोर्ट आई है उसे ऑनलाइन कर दीजिए, ताकि पब्लिक भी जाके उसे देख सकती है कि सचमुच में क्या स्थिति है. मगर रेलवे डिपार्टमेंट हो, महानगर पालिका हो, MMRD हो, ऑडिट होती है मगर ऑडिट रिपोर्ट कभी किसी को नहीं मिलती है. दिस इज अ फैक्ट.
Yeah, I am Samir Javeri. I am lucky that I got under RTI the audit report of railway bridge, and my question is the solution. संजय जी, आपने सही कहा कि वन अथॉरिटी होनी चाहिए जो ब्रिज के इश्यूज है. मैं आपको बता दूं 2009 में थाना स्टेशन के आगे कोपरी पे रोड और ब्रिज गिरा था, जिसमें 2 लोग की डेथ हुई थी. उसमें एक मोटरमैन की भी डेथ हुई थी. अभी भी इंटरनेट पे देखो आर्टिकल है, और तभी का मैंने पूरा फाइल राइट टू इन्फॉर्मेशन से लिया था. रेलवेज ने थाना म्यूनिसिपल कॉर्पोरेशन को लिखा था कि हमारे इंजीनियर ने चेक किया, ब्रिज कभी भी गिर सकता है, मगर आपकी ड्यूटी आप उसको देख लो. थाना म्यूनिसिपल कॉर्पोरेशन ने भी स्ट्रक्चर ऑडिट किया, उनके इंजीनियर्स ने रेलवेज को रिटर्न लेटर लिखा कि हाँ बात तो सही है, कभी भी गिर सकता है, बहुत बड़ी दुर्घटना हो सकती है, आप देखो. दोनों का पत्र व्यवहार 6 महीने तक चलते रहा, और एक दिन वो ब्रिज सच में गिर गया. तभी कांग्रेस गवर्नमेंट थी. दूसरी चीज जो एल्फिस्टन में हुआ, उसका भी RTI से लिया था, और ब्रिज को प्रपोज किया था 2 साल पहले, मगर गवर्नमेंट डिपार्टमेंट में फाइल स्लो 2 साल तक घूमते रही, ब्रिज गिरा, फिर 6 महीने में बनाया रेलवे मिनिस्टर ने. तो अपोजिशन का काम है जब पावर में नहीं है कि ये सब मुद्दे को रेज करे, रेलवे मिनिस्टर को रिजाइन करने के लिए मजबूर करे, वो नहीं करते. तीसरी बात, वो टीवी में थोड़ा बुआ करते हैं, बाद में हरिओम, फिर कोई ब्रिज गिरेगा तो फिर मौका मिलता है बात उठाने का. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए. और जो कल्याण का मुझे RTI से रिपोर्ट मिला है स्ट्रक्चर ऑडिट का, रेलवे में मैं खुद भी कहता हूँ करप्शन का सबसे ज़्यादा मैंने एक्सपोज किया होगा, अगर इंटरनेट पे आप देखेंगे। रेलवे के टॉप ऑफिसर जो महेश कुमार जनरल मैनेजर थे कांग्रेस राज में, वो पकड़े गए थे सीबीआई में, वो भी कंप्लेंट मैंने की थी। मगर उसका एक अच्छा चीज़ भी है कि उनका स्ट्रक्चर ऑडिट एकदम परफेक्ट रहता है। मैंने आरटीआई से लिया था कल्याण का, उसके इंजीनियर ने लिखा है कि ये दो चीज़ होती है जो मोटा मोटा समझा कि अगर ब्रिज का स्ट्रक्चर ऑडिट कमज़ोर है और उसका खर्चा समझो नया ब्रिज बनाने से 50% ज़्यादा आता है ना, तो फिर वो तोड़ के नया ही बनाते। तो ये रिपोर्ट मैंने आरटीआई से लिया है, अक्टूबर 2017 का है। कल्याण का जो अभी बंद किया ना पटरी पुल, कि ये ब्रिज बियॉन्ड रिपेयर का है और उसको बंद करके नया बनाओ, और फिर उसको बंद किया गया, तोड़ा गया, नया बनाएगा। तो हमें अलर्ट रहना है और मेन ऑपोजिशन को अलर्ट रहना है। पावर में जो है वो तो अपना बचाव करेगा। थैंक यू।
इसीलिए तो मैंने संजय जी को बुलाया है, वो आए भी हैं।
There is one thing which we need to be very worried about is the quality of advice being given. One is technical, that it's in bad shape. But I think when any consultant, whether it's an academic institution or it's a private consultant, I think it's not their job to say demolish it or not. They have to say that it is in this condition. See, for example, Vashi Bridge also, it was in really bad condition, but they built a parallel bridge and then they move the traffic, and that's how they do it across the world. We've actually now coming down to becoming at least a banana city, if not a banana republic, that we just break down Delisle Bridge. One person's report, even, interestingly, I have a lot of friends in IIT Mumbai, and other professors said they did not agree with that report. So I am saying, even within an IIT, is it not possible for the railways to say we want the report to be jointly owned by at least 3 professors? Why is it only one person who is going to rule the roost, in terms of deciding whether a Mumbaikar can go from place A to place B or not?
So you're saying one professor in IIT is deciding on most of the bridges?
Because, see, what happens is the way it works is that the railways...
No, is it one same person or
one professor?
So all
has, the railways has given it to IIT. See, I may give a project to IIT, but actually it is very clear that I want this professor to work. And IIT system allows you to pick and choose whom you want to work with. So
all demolitions are one individual.
For all the work with the railways is being done by one IIT professor of IIT Bombay, and all I'm saying is that not all the professors of IIT Bombay itself also are necessarily agreeing with those. So I'm just saying, why not? This is such low-hanging fruit. Why not the railways say that we want it to the report to be taken, owned by at least 3 professors? There'll be debate, discussion. I think that's what happens in private organizations, and I think that's what Mr. Khattar also said, that his junior, then after that his senior, and then he on top. All 3 of them are going to look at the report and the remarks of the junior most person, and then he will say, no, I don't know. I mean, this sounds really crazy. I better go and see it myself and make sure that I also take ownership of all the reports which have been coming from others. And I think that system is not being followed, and I'm just shocked, and I mean, the railways has been doing this not today, it has been doing it from years on end, that they have one individual kind of person who kind of they associate with.
One aspect is there, just now you showed about 20 to 40 years, all the bridges giving problem. They are constructed between 20 and 40 years. That means they were not constructed properly. Main problem is that all civil engineering structures, either bridges, roads, and they are not nowadays, because now chalta hai attitude is there. When I was in BMC from 1962 to 1998, but now after 21 years, I found that our civil engineers, there is no professional integrity. So that's why those, at least the bridges which are under construction, BMC or MMRDA, they should give a proper thought. Because though there are now all the everywhere there are PMs, the project managed consultants are there. BMC engineers are working under them, but these project managed consultants, they are not working properly, according to me. Because I work on so many committees also along with Mr. Shirish Patel. I was on Chitale committee also. And the bridges you will find, SNDT or that Lakshmi Nagar Nala, they are all under, above Nalas. And Nala carries a lot of sewage. So those bridges during construction, according to me, no proper care was taken. So this aspect, otherwise after 20 years, again, we have to come here and whatever new bridges are under construction now, they will become dilapidated in so many years. So main problem is that whatever civil engineers are there, they should be constructed properly.
I think, what you talked just gave me an idea that, there are these bridges which have not been constructed well. And I was just thinking, how about if we turn around this problem and go to bridge specialists and say, we know that this bridge is not constructed well. We know that it is, its integrity is in question. Find ways and means for us to salvage the bridge. We want to retrofit. So let's just turn it around. Let's go to consultants. And I can tell you for every bridge, you will find a solution. So instead of just looking at it and say, oh, it's really bad and we want to, we have to demolish it. We now turn around and say it's bad and tell us how to retrofit it. And I think that's possible. It's not something which is difficult.
Can I start with this Juta Road Bridge?
Yes, I think even for Delisle Bridge, I tried very hard. I spoke to to Praveen Gidam in the Railways, and I spoke to Ajay Mehta, and I kept saying, get another opinion. Okay, they talked, they gave me, and I believe there was a dispute. Okay, not everybody agreed, but at the end of it, they said nothing doing. Demolish the bridge. I remember talking to Sudhir at that time. I think that's the time we first spoke to you as well. But they just did not listen, and once that decision is taken, it's broken so fast, then it's too late to do anything. And it's a nightmare, isn't it? We really fought very hard before Delisle was demolished. We failed. In fact, I even went and met a law firm to look at filing a PIL. We couldn't gather data fast enough for them to have taken the decision and decided to demolish it. Because it takes time, even to go to court. So I think what Sanjay ji is saying, if you can demand a meeting, because I think what's coming out here...
But if you can suggest some...
We will give you 3-4 names. I think...
you need names.
सपोज इनने कुछ नाम बताया उसको उनको अप्रोच करते हैं चल के हम अपने इंडिविजुअल लेवल पे जिसको सिटीजन ऑडिट भी कह सकते हैं आप हम इंडिविजुअल लेवल पे एक बार ऑडिट करा के देखते हैं let them prepare a report our report exactly what is the condition of the bridge.
I think also what may also actually be a report which will have more heft is if we get the municipal commissioner
in it
to take ownership of that report, so we will introduce him to a particular person. In fact, I'm just saying that, just because all of us seem to be concerned citizens and maybe our reports may be biased because we want that bridge to be saved, I'm saying let's get somebody from outside also. Let's get a person from outside who is nothing to do, whose report is just going to be based on the reality, and ask him, because, this thing about absolutely right that what the government's definition of what should be demolished is that if the cost of retrofit is more than 50% of the cost of building a new one, you should demolish it. And that's the stupidest way of looking at bridges. Maybe you can look at buildings. You can't look at bridges because it's going to take you 4 years to build a new bridge. What's going to happen to the traffic in those 4 years? So sometimes if the retrofit is going to cost you 2 times more than what it's going to cost you to build a new bridge, please do that retrofit. Build parallelly another bridge if you want to, but you cannot stop traffic. The rules you can have for buildings cannot be the same rules that you can apply to transport or, which are the spines of the city, so to say. So I think that let us at least, this 0 or 1 attitude is wrong that, oh, it's really bad, it must be demolished. It's like, okay, what can we do to at least extend its life by 10 years? At least that we can do. So extend its life by 10 years and then in the meantime build a parallel bridge or whatever needs to be done. But you can't you can't just kind of have now nothing there, and already without all this stuff we are the worst city. I mean, how much?
No time. If the monsoon starts a week from now and multiplies the chaos, what are we going to do? I mean, our social audit board, but it's going to take time. And
how much time it will take? Suppose we have one consultant. How much time will take in the whole auditing of one particular bridge?
Or 2 or 3.
2 or 3 little.
We should talk, right? We should talk to some people. And the point is, whether people are ready to stick their necks out for Mumbai city, that they would, yeah. I think we should have a larger discussion, and then let's try and find a.
So we'll connect with Sanjay.
Yeah, we should.
Take a few months.
Nothing's going to happen in days. That's what I'm worried about. So I think they need to take a decision. We can't ignore the BMC, because the BMC will have to say we'll call 2 people. Couple of bridges at least are not so bad, restart them or something. Because the minute it's closed.
I don't think they have the time to demolish the bridges before the monsoon. They don't have the time, so anyway they're not going to demolish.
But they're keeping it closed. They have to at least look at reopening it with some retrofitting, right? At least till the monsoon is over and there is some thinking time. Then we'll have time.
They have not announced anything like when we are going to demolish, when we are going to reconstruct it. When to start the work, when to complete the work, nobody knows anything. There is no roadmap. They have just announced traffic closed.
Exactly.
No movement of traffic on.
No, but the BMC's reports. See, there are one which are the IIT reports and which are the railways reports. But the BMC reports are not by the IIT, right? Those are done by these private consultants. I think the quality of the audits leaves much to be desired. That certainly needs a second audit or a third audit.
So at least that as a citizens pressure group, we can ask them to reconsider or take a second opinion.
There's only one more thing which we should also consider. Some of these bridges certainly will require demolition and all that. How to have a temporary arrangement very quickly. You see, you are not going to wait for 2 years or 3 years or whatever time it takes for a bridge to come up in Mumbai. We must have a system of being able to replace it by a temporary sort of a bridge so that the traffic continues, and then you can plan the new bridge to come. When we do the thing, it is always done in the railways. You must be seeing within a few days the whole bridge is then put into operation, and that's because they keep everything ready, including girders and everything, including piling. They just keep ready and start and then finish it in 2 or 3 days.
Mr. Datta, you have a point?
Good evening. I am Abhay Datar, consumer activist and counselor at Moneylife. I would like to say something about preventive measures. I stay at Kennedy Bridge, a 50-year-old bridge, very important one, ROB, connecting Opera House and Nana Chowk. For years together, I have been listening that there should be no parking on bridges. So for last 2 years, I am constantly posting the pictures of water tankers, school buses, tourist buses, road rollers, and very heavy vehicles of BMC itself. And the particular that middle part of the bridge, which is on the railway tracks, it has become a dumping ground with debris and all other things. This I am posting to Mumbai police as well as tweeting with them, even. To Churchgate, that railway office, there also I have written a letter, but nothing happening, because this is all adding to the wear and tear of the bridge. And if this is prevented, I think the life of the bridge will definitely get extended. But now I am really getting tired. I am losing my hopes.
I think we've had a wonderful discussion, and all of us are looking to what is the solution. So, any closing remarks? And I'm going to ask Sanjay ji, as an opposition party, everyone's looking to you to say, let's do something. If you have any thoughts. It's a civic issue.
Political point of view से देखने की जरूरत नहीं है.
Well, I think the long-term solution really lies in altering our method of procurement of professional services. There's no escape from that. My my overall belief is that this problem arises because bureaucrats have become a kind of closed entity unto themselves. They're in silos. I remember 30 or 40 years ago, I was friends with many people in the service, in the IAS. Now I know hardly anybody there. Maybe that's because of my age, but the fact is, despite trying, it's not possible to get through to them. They work in silos. And I think part of the problem that you have is that it's not possible to get through to the bureaucracy. They don't think that the rest of the citizenry have anything to contribute at all to their thinking or their way of working. That's the central problem. And I think it arises also from the fact that they are really not sackable. They stand in no danger of ever losing their job. Their promotions are guaranteed whether they perform or don't perform. There's fundamentally no accountability, therefore. And this is a central problem. It has nothing to do with the present problem of bridges. But long term, I think something has to be done on these fronts. Short term, I think I would be pretty confident that all the bridges that have been rated for demolition, it'll be difficult to find even one or two that really require demolition. I doubt it very much. I doubt it very much. I mean, without even having seen them, without knowing what they are, I would doubt that very much. Because before a structure fails, it gives plenty of warning of danger. And if you just look at it, you can tell that this bridge is really not in imminent danger of collapse. Most large structures give plenty of warning. So I think short term, what we need to do is persuade the corporation to get a second opinion, a review by a group of competent professionals, not charging the lowest fee. And if they can do that and review this, simply on the basis of what a nuisance it will be for the public if these bridges are demolished, that will be the way to go forward.
I completely agree with Shirish Bhai. I think the first thing is we must demand from the municipal commissioner that these reports are handed to us. Why should we have to go through an RTI? Why can't he just give it to us? Let us have a look at it. We will not, and then let them officially induct somebody to have a look at that. And the issue is that don't play hangman, because if you're going to do that, then everybody is going to say it's unsafe and demolish it. So very clearly we see it's something like somebody
three or four structural engineers, if they're asked to peer review those audit reports, I'm sure you're not going to worry about the hangman.
Let me just tell you, Sucheta, the way the bridge is the way the human body is. So let us say today I go to a cardiologist, I have all my tests done, and maybe I have a blockage of 30%. Maybe I do. Now the question is, what do you want me to do? I mean, do I have to now immediately go for overnight? Tomorrow, do I have to do a bypass? Do I, is it something where I can't have a normal life? And so these are calls which are judgment calls, and that really is where the competency of a structural engineer is. The kind of auditors you have are not secure and confident to make such judgment calls. It's not engineering, it's not 2 + 2 = 4. So fine, he does his calculations, he'll find there's this corrosion. So the factor of safety now, which you are designing the bridge for, if it was supposed to be 1.5, and for seismic this should have been done, and that detail is not there, so therefore it doesn't follow the codes. Yes, it is deficient. Is it deficient enough to be at risk to be falling down within the next 1 month? Probably not. Most likely not. And are we confident enough to give that report? And most very senior doctors have far more confidence in telling you just go ahead and live your life normally, eat sensibly. And some young doctor who has just come out, no, you've got to do a bypass tomorrow, right? So this is the kind of difference. So we need to have judgment also in being able to read the the report and then analyze it and then kind of give a prognosis for what will be happening.
Your point about the hangman is well taken. Unfortunately, my worry is that the minute you guarantee that there's going to be no hangman, you bring in corruption again, because the best person will not be chosen to do the review, right? So which is why I'm saying if 3 or 4 people do the peer review, then together, or put it before a committee of 3 or 4 competent people and say should it be done, I think the reaction would be different, because there may be differences of opinion, there'll be a majority opinion, and then there will be no hangman. But if it is okay, we get somebody else, and again at the lowest price, or some favoritism, then all you're doing is actually giving a guarantee to that person that there's no responsibility and no accountability. That's not going to be a solution given the level of corruption in India, right?
So that's why one of the things which I don't know if it can be done, but ask the Indian Association of Bridge and Structural Engineers to kind of have a look at it, get 3 or 4 of their, see, today there's somebody over there who has a lot of integrity and who is a very good bridge engineer. You can't say that will be the case in IBSE all the time.
And an institution.
So from their group there can be 3 or 4 people, or we have somebody sitting right here who's done so many bridges. So we can have people
I
from
don't see
Mumbai.
why, because we do it in the financial sector all the time. So why can't somebody like Mr. Shirish Patel be invited to head a committee to relook at all of this?
Absolutely. I mean, if he would be willing, I think that, yes, it would be wonderful. It would be.
Not do we follow in our profession.
So,
but why is that? We can do it. No problem. Yeah. No, I'd be happy to be a part of a group of people who look at these bridges. It's not a problem at all.
Let's start with the Juta Road.
Wonderful, okay.
Where will we move?
We'll start with all of Bombay. Why Juhutara Road only? All of Bombay is on the...
Let's start with this.
Yeah, we should first get the MC to take ownership.
Correct.
No,
but he has to invite somebody like...
It has to be... We have to be invited by the municipal corporation to do this.
Exactly.
We can't do this on our own. We can't do it on our own initiative. I'm sorry.
We have to pressure the municipal commissioner to invite people and take a second look. There's no other way. Otherwise, we can keep doing halla, they'll ignore us, nothing's going to happen.
We have no standing.
Invite somebody of his stature, why not?
We have no standing unless the client invites us. How do we get access to the information we need? How do we even visit the site? Somebody has to allow us to look at the bridge, to inspect it, to go into it.
We won't get information.
And that has also no use, because you'll go and look at it without adequate information and they'll ignore you. So I don't see why we as Mumbaikars, worried about what's going to happen from now, we can't put enough pressure on a municipal commissioner. This is why I think people like Samir and Sudhir Badami have been saying that I seriously think that we need to as Mumbaikars, we should be able to put that much pressure. Otherwise, what's the point? Otherwise, you just suck it up and die if something happens. There's no disaster management. In fact, I think 20 years ago also one of the discoveries in CII's disaster management committees was the best thing that you can do in a disaster is stay where you are, because wherever you try to go, you'll be in the middle of a road jam or block. You're safer where you are. And it's now 20 years hence, more traffic, more problems, and I don't see how we can say that municipal commissioner will not listen to us. We should be able to put pressure. What do other activists think? Do you think we'll be able to put pressure?
Yeah, I think Mr. Pardeshi, we had one this with him, and we had very good response from him. So I feel maybe he has been very satisfied.
Let's try.
We should try.
We should try.
I think we should.
We should try. Nothing lost.
If you want to put pressure on the municipal commissioner, he will not look at us. He only one way to put pressure on chief minister to resign his post. He will put pressure on the municipal commissioner.
Correct.
छुट्टी उसके हाथ में है, हमारे हाथ में नहीं है.
Correct.
उसका छुट्टी पकड़ो अपने आप लग जाए.
See, you know what, I'm just repeating myself, but at least a previous municipal commissioner actually told me, I want you to be there, you tell me how you can help us.
He didn't implement a system, right? He closed some more bridges.
Yeah, so now he is over there. He told this person to come. The person doesn't show up. Now, you know, actually, I wish, I mean, this is a little bit aside, but, you know, I wish that the state of Maharashtra had a disaster management authority like Gujarat has. You know, so what happens in a state like Gujarat, and, you know, since I was an advisor there, people would warn that there is going to be a disaster happening. Those papers would come to us, and there had to be a response by the disaster management authority that even this kind of a chaos in a city with these kinds of traffic snarls is actually a disaster.
But we had it in Mumbai. After Latur, the World Bank funded it. Pardesi was collector in Latur.
Yes.
Johnny Joseph headed the disaster management
But
cell.
it was only, so what they decided is they won't have a separate authority. They'll just have a small cell in the BMC. And as I am saying that the BMC left doesn't know that this disaster management cell exists. So this is the kind of importance they are giving it. Otherwise, you know, if they had to weigh in, the disaster management authority should have lent in and said that you cannot stop all these bridges at one time. It's crazy, right? So there's somebody who's not applying his or her mind. So who is in charge? That's the real question, and maybe we need to confront the municipal commissioner at, you know, as the first step, and maybe if that doesn't work, as a next.
So will you come to Moneylife to talk on the subject?
I wish. We'll ask him. We'll try.
That's the better way to approach. Let him put his view first, and then we can take it.
We can try. We can go and meet him. Why does he need to come here? But we can try. Okay, on that terrific note, thank you so much. Thank you, Shirish Pai. Thank you, Alpa, for a wonderful presentation. Been an eye-opener to all of us. Let's give her a big hand. And thanks for the wonderful participation. Sanjay Bhai, thanks for coming.